Before I begin today's video, I'd like to give a brief shout out to ROBOBUDDIES. Robo has great videos, and also her list of animated web show recommendations is the entire reason why I discovered the series that is the topic of today's video. Definitely check out her stuff, a link to her channel will be in the description below. With that being said, on with the video.
What a wonderful day to talk about Khonjin House. What the hell was that?
Really don't want to get sued, or else I'll lose my Khonjin house.
So from the stranger-than-usual intro gag, you might be able to suspect one key thing about Khonjin House right off the bat, assuming you aren't already familiar with it. And that's that it is a very weird show. Created by Connor Lavery, aka Khonjin, Khonjin House is an animated web series primarily hosted on YouTube. It ran for around 50 episodes, ending on a big finale, and then looping back around to pick itself back up recently, swimming along to around 63 episodes as of the time of this recording. So, what exactly is Khonjin House, some of you may find yourselves asking, and what is it about? Well, the answer might be a little tougher than you'd be led to believe. For all intents and purposes, Khonjin House is like if Xavier Renegade Angel and YouTube Poops had a baby, and that baby grew up to have a really warped sense of self and made strange YouTube video serials. The, plot, if you could call it that, follows the adventurous and often wacky exploits of the titular Khonjin, an irreverent troublemaker who is determined to get his hands on a slice of his coveted pepperoni pizza. Khonjin is along the way joined by a cast of even stranger side characters like Gino Fratelli, owner of Fratelli's Pizza, who cannot stand Khonjin, Khonjin's father Gilmore, head of the Mafia and resident axe-crazy demigod, and Gay Spaghetti Chef, who is, well, as the name would imply. The show is very sporadic, often building rapid-fire jokes to a climax of insane violence and screaming in every incredibly short episode. It's also known for its stylistic suck, as internet patrons so affectionately refer to it as, wherein most of the character animation is that of static images being moved around at whim. Note that I say most of the character animation, but more on that later. As you might would suspect from a show of this nature, the plot is highly episodic and very rarely takes continuity into bearing. Some things that are mentioned in earlier episodes are seemingly carried over arbitrarily for humor factor or just for the sake of established characterization. However, most if not all episodes seem to almost take their own frame of logic in insular bouts. This, along with the show's willingness to tread some incredibly strange ground as is, leads to a style of humor which is completely off the walls while still managing to be hilarious all the while. The only drawbacks to the show's humor, at least in my opinion, is that if you're familiar with this sort of early Newgrounds-esque non-sequitur style humor, you'll know that remaining completely tasteful is not always in the show's interest. Some jokes did make me groan a little along the way, but if you've been on the internet for a long time, you're bound to be at least somewhat familiar with these types of things. And they're usually brief enough to get past without much issue. Besides, the minute-to-minute sequences of truly clever writing more than make up for it.
The footage was doctored, you idiots! That's not a real shark, and that's not a real gun. Okay, alright, let's talk about the, you're a real shark? Give me the gun. Give me the gun. Just give me the gun. A real shark would never fall for such a stupid trick.
Wait a second. A shark would never fall for that. And if he was a shark, why is he at the newsroom? If there's no news in the ocean?
And why are his legs comprised of the 7 chaos— Oh shit, it's the Bible!
Khonjin House, however, isn't just some funny YouTube series I came here to talk about solely because it made me laugh, though. Sure, it made me laugh, and in fact it made me laugh a lot. But it also did something unique with those laughs that I hadn't quite seen done anywhere else. It gave those laughs a really weighty context. And with the show that revels in jokes about the bio-lizard from Sonic Adventure 2 suddenly appearing and winning a game show to be allowed to burn someone's house down, I didn't expect to feel that way. A quick warning that we're going to go pretty deep now into spoiler territory, and yes, Khonjin House does have some unique material I would highly recommend seeing blind first before seeing me gab about it in an analytical YouTube video. If you were on the fence about checking it out before, or simply haven't, I would highly recommend it, and perhaps you could come on back to this video after you're done, so just pause, don't worry, I'm patient. A quick interjection that I've had to add to this script, seeing as this issue is a bit last minute. A lot of the stuff I'm about to talk about is also involved in the story and development of a game Connor Lavery is in the process of attempting to make called Supermental. Connor's just announced as I'm writing this that anything Supermental related on the Khonjin YouTube channel will be unlisted soon, and to assume nothing is safe. He says that doing this is a decision being made for the sake of getting the game made. Some of the videos I talk about here may no longer be formally available, and may be divided off of the original series to focus on development or rearrangement. The following is only my experiences in relation to the original version of Khonjin House as it was initially uploaded, and you can refer to these things, I'm sure, with inevitable re-uploads or mirrors of some kind of the missing videos. I did go ahead and ask Connor if I can continue to make this video, and he said it was fine. He gave his approval. But if at some point in the future he changes his mind and would like this video removed, he need only ask. With that being said, let's move on. For those of us moving along into spoiler territory. So while Khonjin House is indeed very episodic in nature, this doesn't always stay the same. Starting from episode 30 onward, the show begins to have an incredibly vague underlying story arc. In episode 30, we are introduced to a person named Pent, who looks incredibly similar to Khonjin, and whose motives are fairly unclear. Pent calls out to an unseen person who he calls Smack, claiming to know that he's here and he should show himself, and quote, "show me that you'll walk away." Before we're given much time to ponder much of what he means by this, the scene fades as we see Khonjin waking up from all of this, further implying that Pent and Khonjin are one of the same whole in some manner. This is where things start to get interesting. Pent shows up once more in episode 37, asking Gino's name and still apparently searching for who he was talking to himself about in his last appearance. Gino shoots him, but Pent seems to warp their very reality in response, warning that the next time he shows himself, he'll drag this world into the depths. He again appears in episode 44, disguising himself as Khonjin to go on a date with Gay Spaghetti Chef. He asks the chef about someone named Shelby, and when the chef claims not to know who he's talking about, Pent, still posing as Khonjin, says he's breaking up with the chef, who then explodes. Meanwhile, while hiring for job positions, Khonjin's father seems to have an interview in the dark with the mysterious Smack and hires him on the spot. This all leads to a spearhead in episode 49, which starts as a seemingly normal foray into the strange, as Gilmore outlines a heist plan where the participants will kill themselves to go to heaven and steal Jesus' shoes. Gino leaves the scene for a moment and discovers a letter from the enigmatic Smack himself, detailing that he should give the letter to Khonjin if he wishes to be ruled by someone he hates, whereas he should do nothing if he wants to be ruled by someone who hates him, at which point images of Pent are once again put on display. In the grand finale of the original run, we start by seeing Gino trick Khonjin into touching the letter by promising to finally give up a piece of pizza. In touching the letter, Khonjin seems to split apart, revealing that Pent has been somehow connected to him the entire time, with the both of them now being separated. Trapped now in a strange void, Gino calls out to Smack as Pent approaches and punches him, seemingly fully aware that Smack would be here. Smack finally appears, chastising Pent for creating the situation and remarking he doesn't belong in this place. Pent retaliates by claiming he made this place and its people, and that the only outlier who doesn't belong is Smack, therefore confirming one major part of Pent's character in Khonjin House. He's the creator of it. He and Khonjin are part of the same whole because Khonjin is his author avatar of sorts, and these wild and crazy misadventures, this nonsensical world, it's all a culmination of Pent's own imagination. Pent attempts to put the world at his fingertips to rest, but finds that having split from Khonjin, he no longer has the power to control the world he created by his own will. The artist, quite literally, has been separated from the art, and it can continue on without him. Smack hits the point further home.
This existence doesn't need you anymore.
But follows up by clarifying that theirs does. Their reality. Our reality. Aside from a clear suspension of disbelief, the line in the sand is clearly drawn. The world of Khonjin House to Smack is no realer than it is to us viewers. No realer than a set of YouTube videos. A reality exists outside that Pent has been hiding himself away from, within the confines of Khonjin House, within the confines of his own creation. Pent claims he isn't needed, while Smack further retorts that people could die, and that just because Pent lost someone, he needn't inflict the same damage on others. Very clearly and emotionally, Pent responds by claiming, "Toby isn't dead!" Lunging for Smack, Pent is frozen in place by the now fully autonomous Khonjin, who denies any tie to Pent when Smack insists they might be linked if Khonjin saved him. He instructs Smack to leave with Pent, and he does so, saving the day in the process, as the season concludes with Khonjin running off to get some pizza. So, there's a lot to take in there. Clearly, something has happened between these two that has driven a wedge between what might have once been an important friendship, and it very likely has something to do with this person Pent mentions as being dead or not dead. One thing is for certain, though. Whatever happened, it severely affected Pent in a terrible, terrible way. He lives submerged in his own fantasy world, a world of irreverent, violent humor where consequence and logic have no domain, a world where anything can happen, any joke can land, and any brutal act of savagery can be committed with no lingering effect once the proverbial curtain closes and the day starts anew. If Khonjin and Pent are part of the same whole, think about the title for a moment. Khonjin House. Pent House. Penthouse. Which, coincidentally, can mean two similar things with very different contexts. A top-floor apartment, which is luxurious and offers a fine view, but also a shelter on the outskirts. A shelter where nothing can get in. Nothing can hurt you. At least, not anymore. No. You can just relax, enjoy the view, have a grand old time, have some laughs, make some new friends. Just forget about everything bad that's ever happened. And that's exactly what Pent did. He created a shelter for himself from whatever happened with Shelby, whatever happened with Smack, but in the process, he's lost himself. He's unable to separate himself from his creation. He's sunk so far into it that he and his own product have become indistinguishable. Who doesn't belong here? Smack. Smack belongs to reality. Our reality. Smack comes to Khonjin House's reality for one purpose. What purpose? To deliver a letter. A letter which, upon contact, splits Khonjin and Pent apart from each other, which removes Pent's control over Khonjin's world, over his art. Pent must return to reality, but Smack is the one to cut the ropes and try to force him to move back into his own mind. Reality is a harsh mistress, coping with the hardships of life with the joy of humor, escapism, fantasy. It's all very understandable. It happens to the best of us. But to let ourselves be consumed by it is another matter entirely, a matter far more unhealthy than it is healing. Khonjin House is a testament to this, for as funny and irreverent, loud and bizarre as it is, it's an escape to a world unlike our own, where consequence and logic are left at the door, and laughs are had by all. It's a place where you can simply take some time to feel simple pleasure in the humor of something, but as with all good things, they must come to an end, whether we like it or not. Hey, thank you for joining me on today's video. Khonjin House was something that I really wanted to talk about, and I just had to make this video because, yeah, I just really wanted to talk about it. Hopefully that makes up for the delay between this and the Steven Universe video. Whatever you thought of the video, I'd greatly appreciate comments. Do whatever you want. I'm just, I hope you enjoyed the video, is what I'm getting at. And, leave your thoughts, comments, criticisms, whatever, in all the comments below. And thank you once again for joining me. I'll see you in whatever I decide to make next. See you later.